Hello, and welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about the end of Evangelion. And I talked about Evangelion already, but I talked about the 26th episode, and I thought that's where it ended. But apparently, the actual end of Evangelion was titled under a different thing, and I didn't realize, but now I have watched it. And I have some thoughts, and I will also be spoiling it, because it's kind of hard to talk about an ending without spoiling it. But first, I'll try to give like a brief synopsis of basically what happened. If you haven't watched Evangelion, go watch it. It's a pretty good show. But feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about any of this stuff, because I very well might be. And also, I'm not going to try to name like very specific names, because I'm not great at names, if I'm going to be honest. But basically, Shinji wakes up, and he goes over to Asuka, and tries to wake her up, but you know, she's in like this kind of comatose state because she was close to dying. Turns her over, finds out that she's naked, immediately ejaculates. I'm not joking. Go watch the ending if you haven't watched it already and you've watched the entire show. It's a strange opener. He just immediately ejaculates when he sees Asuka's naked body, which is weird. But it makes sense, because, you know, she was the only one that he actually had physical intimacy with. You know, he shared a kiss with her, wasn't that big of a deal, because she even said that it was just for fun, it didn't mean anything, but still, it's clear that this is just to drive the point across that, you know, Shinji does kind of like Asuka, and, you know, I think that's what the point of it is. I hope that's what it is. But yeah, anyways, and then the main organization, I'm not like exactly sure on what it's, I think it's like Steel, one of the names is Steel, so I'm just going to call it the Steel organization, whatever, but like the main heads of like each of the organizations that, you know, Shinji's father's also under, they go to attack, Nerve head on, with like military and their own Evas. I think they're Eva S2s, I think that's what they're called. And Asuka wakes up. They get her into the robot, or the Eva first, and then she wakes up. She takes like I think she gets motivation from her mother, who she thinks is watching down upon her, and beats the fuck out of the Eva S2s. But it doesn't even matter, because the spear, I forgot the exact name, but this spear that immediately just destroys Eva's, goes through, destroys her Eva, and also the power was unplugged, so she just loses power, yeah, she's just not in a good state, and Eva S2s come back, and basically, I think the whole point of like what they're doing is to like make a new world where it's basically the birth of humanity. I mean, they even said later on, when it actually like happens, it's like they're going back to the birth of humanity, and like where it all started. And I think they want to start it on like a different planet, somewhere different than Earth. Leave Earth as like this destroyed mess, or completely destroyed altogether. But that's not what ends up happening, because Rei, who is also a main character, goes up, and like she uses this, she goes into the doll, or whatever it's called, this like weird kind of voodoo doll looking thing, goes up and tries to intercept what is happening with Shinji's robot, because he gets the robot because it just appeared to him, when again he got motivation from Asuka calling out to her mother, so he called that inspiration from his mother, and from Asuka probably as well. So he went up, he got fucked up, to say the least, and he's basically the propeller and like the main core for this new planet, and it gets made with the help of Rei as well, because they just use her she can't even help because they just use the S2s just use her as like more power to just make this new planet, to make this new world, to start over. Where basically, I don't even think humanity even exists on this this planet. But to still go back to the birth of humanity, it's weird. I'm not 100% sure, and that's why I said to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because it very well could be. But yeah. This new world gets created, but Shinji decides to actually go back down to Earth, even in its destroyed state, to go back down, because he knows this is all basing around Shinji's mental, like, health, his mental struggles. Because this entire thing just basically revolves around Shinji just not being able to find happiness. Everybody, you know, hating himself, thinking that everybody else hates him. You know, when he, like, dreams or has these, like, weird visions, he just sees people hating him. Like, even in, like, the later visions that he has in, like, this, like, the 28th episode, he's still visioning people hating him, even Asuka just, like, berating him and disliking him, and calling him, like, pathetic, and even in, like, reality, that's, like, what people think of him. So, yeah. But he learns to just accept that for what it is, and to restart, and to try to find happiness, to try to find a decently idealistic world, to restart, and not to be alone or just completely die on this world full of nobody. Basically, just a new planet altogether, and wants to go back down to a planet he's actually familiar with, and basically restart. Oh, sorry, my finger's in the way. My finger's been in the way for a long time. I'm sorry about that. But, yeah, goes back down. Asuka's there. Tries to choke her, I'm assuming, and I think it's because he's just so boiled up with rage because he thinks everybody hates him, and he just needs to take it out. Even if it's on somebody he likes, he still thinks everybody hates him. Even people that he likes, he still thinks they won't like them back no matter what. They won't like him back no matter what. So he just tries to choke her. But once he realizes she's actually alive, he stops. And the last line of dialogue in this entire show, and the ending to this very trippy fucking show, is pathetic. And it's assumed, again, another assumption, because a lot of this show is just making assumptions, is I think that they'll just make a new world. They'll start humanity back over from square one, over again. And yeah, that's basically it. I know the brief synopsis was a little bit more than brief, but there was a lot of stuff to cover. And yeah. Another weird thing that happened that people also point out, Misato kissing Shinji. And reading up more about this, I don't think it was as weird as I initially thought, but still is kind of weird. I mean, you know, an adult kissing a minor, no, that's a no-no, period. Yeah, I really do think that this was just the last-ditch effort for Misato to just manipulate Shinji. Because that's the entire point of what she was doing, basically, just manipulating him. But her ultimate, her trap card, or her, like, fucking big brain move is sexually manipulate somebody. And that's what she does with Shinji as a last-ditch effort to get him back into the EVA. And the sad part is, I don't even think it really worked, because he just knows she immediately died, and he just goes all back into this depressive state again. And again, he only goes back into the robot or into the EVA, because Asuka was alive, and he heard her voice, and he also heard her call out to her mother. And, you know, he reflected on that and decided to go back into the EVA. And that's basically it. But what I really like about this show, the story, main characters, also I like how kind of trippy it is. There's a bunch of, like, flashes of old scenes, as I said, that I really enjoy. I know it's like epilepsy inducing, so yeah, don't watch the show if you have epilepsy. But yeah, just a bunch of flashes and flashbacks to old shows, just like split second flashbacks, and like just reimaginations of old scenes, but with different things happening, like with that like coffee being spilt on Shinji and that like kind of flashback kind of thing, or that dream sequence, whatever. I just like that. It's trippy. And also just the general aesthetic of the show I like. Again, trippy aesthetic, especially in the last 2 episodes, like the main show. I mean, like the 25th and 26th episode. But yeah, this was a pretty great ending, or not great, but a very good and very, very good ending to the show. And I think if you want like a more ambiguous ending, like you don't want to know what like happened fully after, like, you know, everything, you don't want to like have it build up to this big climactic ending, then, you know, stick with the final episode for you being 26. But if you want to know what happens with this big ending and everything coming together, basically, watch the final Evangelion. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't have a whole lot else to say. And yeah, see you guys later. Goodbye.